Hello, beautiful people. How are you today? I hope you all are feeling amazing. And I genuinely, that's not a rhetorical question. I genuinely would like to know, how are you today? So, why not use our comment section and just in one word, you don't have to explain anything, just write in our comment section, how are you today? No explanation, just one word. I would love to know. I'm having a really good day today. So, today's entry is going to be about making every day count. And I actually found these exact words in a stamp set by Kelly Creates, and I think it really struck me because I think sometimes right now when we're going through this period of isolation and quarantine and every day kind of feels like exactly the same thing. Like, call me Bill Murray, I am in Groundhog Day, and every day is the same. So, how do you make every day count? Well, I certainly don't have the answer for everybody, but I have a couple places where I think we can get started into figuring that out for ourselves, for yourself. So, in case you're wondering, by the way, I am using, like I said, the stamps. I'm using a Moleskine watercolor art journal, which is really amazing. I'm using the leaf stamp set is by Dilutions, and right now I just lightly stamped using Distress ink, a light color. I think it's called linen, something Intink linen, and I'm cutting out the words, the sentiment, and I am using it as a mask. Which, if you're not familiar with like artistic terms, a mask or a stencil, or a mask is basically the opposite of a stencil, where you're using the cutout part to block everything else out. This way, when I use my journal and I stamp it and emboss it, I can use the mask over that, so the other colors won't go over, even though it doesn't really matter because I'm embossing. Anyway, that's beside the point. So here's our first prompt for our journal entry, and I think this is a great way to start to kind of figuring out a way to make every day count. And this prompt I actually heard. This is often used as an example for guiding people in their life's passions, in career choices. But I think it's just as important to, by the way, this is called embossing ink, if you all are familiar. I'm just using the embossing ink with some embossing powder. Embossing ink and embossing powder are, what you're doing basically is you're making these little fine particles of plastic stick onto this clear ink. And then when you use a heat tool, which is basically a low powered but very hot, not low powered, a low velocity, like it doesn't blow as fast, but it gets hotter and it blows less. So you're not blowing all this powder that I'm using off. And it's just clear powder, which I store in like a little Tupperware type dollar store container thing, and it's great for storing these embossing powders. And the heat tool uses high heat and low air volume, or I guess would be the term, to just basically melt the plastic embossing powder onto the paper, and it kind of simulates like a mechanical or store bought. Like if you buy greeting cards in a store, they're embossed, which is done in a it's done. You know what I'm trying to say? It's done like not at home. It's not like a DIY. It's done in a factory. So you're kind of mimicking that. Anyway, what the first prompt I want to start with is, and like I said, it's used a lot of times for guiding people and figuring out a direction that they want to focus their career in. So here it is. Let's just cut to the chase. Let me just stop rambling, cut to the chase. So this is what it is. So picture this. Sicily, 1940. That's a golden. Yeah, you got your golden girls. You know the golden girls. Anyway, because picture this: someone comes up to you, and someone like Bill Gates or whoever, and or God, whoever you want to imagine, that has unlimited resources, and they say, I will give you whatever you need. I will give you however much money you need to do whatever you want to do. What are your top 3 things? So someone comes up to you, says, friend, I will give you whatever you need to do whatever you want. Whatever money you want, I got it. I got you. What 3 things, or even just one thing, would you do? Journal about that. Write it down. Take a page. Take 3 pages. Take 4 pages. And if you want, you can even share that in the comment section as well. I think one of my things, I don't know if it's my top thing, but one of the things I would do, and actually, no, let me just share what I'm doing right now on this stamp. This is a really cool stamp, by the way, by Diane Reveley. Her line is Delusions, and it's easy to remember because it's spelt differently. It's spelt with a Y instead of an I. And she makes some really great products. Ranger has some really cool people that make really cool products. And I'm using Distress markers, which are dye-based, water-based markers that you can just kind of color onto. Normally when you stamp, you use an ink pad. But you can use these markers, and they'll stay wet for a decent amount of time. If not, you can just spray them like with a light mist of water, which is actually what I'm going to be doing anyway, to give it more like a watercolored effect, which I think comes out really cool with either the markers or the ink, which essentially, like I said, are the same. I mean, there's markers, ink, stains, but I'm missing some because there's like 20 of them, but they're all, and now there's Distress Oxides, which are like an opaque version of the Distress inks, and I use them a lot. Instead of for stamping, I use them for watercoloring, just because I really like the colors. They're not like the bright like Crayola box colors, or like some really cool. Some are muted, some are just like a toned down, mixed up version of browns mixed greens, and I think this one's like an olive green. It might be called Peel Paint. There's sage. I really love the color sage, and I think that might be what my one marker is. And another thing that I really like about these Distress inks is you can these are perfect pearls, by the way. They're like these mica powders that are just shimmery that you can kind of blend in with anything, and they kind of make like a really cool shimmery look. So anyway, before I get into this, what I was saying is you can like mix these without having to worry about them like contaminating the colors, each color. So just go ahead and like you can use they come in two sizes, by the way. That's the mini. And you can just mix them without having to worry about the green getting on the yellow, getting on the brown, getting on this, getting on that. And distress stain too. There's distress stains and distress stain sprays, and they're just great for like a whole bunch of, like, if you want to do creative journaling and you're like, well, I'm not really an artistic person. I can't draw. Just buy some distressed products and just start adding color to your page and just play around, and it's really, really, really fun. So I put the inks on some of the distress stains, distress markers, and now I'm just gonna spray it down with some water, and you're gonna see how it's gonna create like a really cool like watercolor kind of effect. Hold on, I need a little bit of iced coffee. Can I just tell you what I've discovered just recently? At home cold brew from Starbucks. It is amazing. It's amazing. I think I'm getting in all of my iced coffee before winter officially hits. Okay, so you see how I sprayed it with water. Just stamp it down, and you'll see how it kind of makes like a cool. Well, when it dries, actually, you'll see how it makes a cool watercolor effect. I love this Starbucks cold brew iced coffee. I'm obsessed. I mean, who has time to go to Starbucks, right? Actually, that's not true. We have all the time in the world right now. But that's beside the point. Okay, so I never told you my well, it's kind of boring. What were my top three things that if I had any amount of money in the world, what would I do? Um, it's kind of boring, but I think my one of my things would be to invest financially and also to invest myself, my time, into like a research facility for fibromyalgia and for holistic well-being. I just love learning. I mean, obviously it affects me, so it's very confusing, and it's very there's not much known, the causes and this and that, and I mean, I don't mean to single one thing out. I know everyone wants, whatever kind of chronic condition you're dealing with, you kind of want to, you want a cure, you want it to be over, you want to, but that's one of my things that I would do. But, let's go to our second prompt. I have two prompts. That's the first prompt. The second prompt is, and this one is kind of similar, but it doesn't necessarily involve having unlimited money or resources. You can do these things without, some of them without any money, depending on what yours are. And I don't know what it's called anymore, but I used to call it, what I know it as, is a list it was called a bucket list. And it's a list of, say, like 100 things, or 50 things, or 3 things, or however many things that you want to do or want to accomplish during your lifetime. I think there's actually even I know there's a movie about it. It might be called Bucket List. Um, and, they make their lists of I don't know how many things, and I think it's Jack Nicholson, and that he sets off to, I could be wrong, he sets off to do all of them. I mean, that takes a lot of guts to do some of the things, because some of the things on my bucket list are things that theoretically I would like to do, but in reality, I don't know if I would necessarily do them. But anyway, there's a list. I make a list of, and this might take you a couple journal pages. By the way, right here, I'm using the same Distress ink right off the ink pad with a blending tool. And it's actually a makeup brush, but people in the artistic world right now are discovering that these makeup brushes are really great for blending tools. So I don't know if they're marketed yet as a blending tool, but I will link where I found mine. I think I just got them at Amazon, and they're actually a pretty decent price. I know, actually, you know what? I do some companies, art companies do make them, and they charge like a ridiculous amount of money for them. But they're really great at blending, and they create like this really, see how they're really soft blend of the blue. So what you're gonna see in a second is I'm gonna just take a baby wipe and I'm gonna go over the embossed words, and it's gonna make them really pop, so you don't have to worry about getting the ink on top of the lettering. But that's it for this, but there is a part 2 where I'll finish the artistic part of the entry, and please stay tuned for that. And I want to thank you guys so much for stopping by. I would love for you to comment with any questions, tips, advice, and please subscribe. It really, really matters. Thumbs up also, and I will love you forever, and I'll talk to you soon.